and welcome to Inside UNC Charlotte. Today we're talking to two theater professors, Carlos Cruz and Kaja Dunn. Thank you for joining us today. And you two are going to be opening our theater season this year with a faculty production, which is something we haven't done in the theater department at least as long as I've been at UNC Charlotte, which is 7 years plus now. So that's a really exciting thing. And it's also a work by an alumna of our theater department. So a great connection. Tell us a little bit, Kaja, why don't you start and just tell us a little bit about this play?
Sure. The play is by Caridad Svich, and she is an alumna of the program. It's a memory play. So one of the things Carlos and I began talking about when I came 2 years ago is that we wanted to continue working. And we both have activist parts to our practice. And so we started looking for a play just in the normal theater catalogs, but we were looking for something that was culturally specific, and a two-hander. And through several catalogs, we couldn't find anything that really fit what we were looking for. And so Carlos reached out to Caridad, and she sent us this show, and it resonated with both of us. One, because of the content. It deals with issues of war, of belonging, a little bit of homelessness, and mainly of love and the human condition, but then also the challenge of it, because it's Caridad calls it a play, so it's not the linear structure. It's circular time and circular memory, and it also has open ethnicity, so that the characters have to be of different ethnicities from each other, but it doesn't specify what those were. Right. And with Carlos's background as a physical theater performer, and with my training, we were interested in looking at how we combine different ways of working. And then we got Dr. Monica Ndounou from Dartmouth to come on in the project and direct us, and she brought a very specific perspective. And so merging those three ways of doing theater together was something that was very exciting for us to think about.
Yeah, so we should say that the play is called Archipelago. That's the title of it. It will run September 12th through the 16th in our Black Box Theater in Robinson Hall. Carlos, talk a little bit about the merging of the physical, because it does have some acrobatic quality to it. It really has a choreography to it, but then also it has this very poetic language. So did you develop the movement yourself? Is this something that you kind of conceived of as you read the play?
That's an interesting question. I think it's interesting that you phrase it that way, because for me, honestly, it feels a little bit more of a departure of the kind of work that I do. It's way more text heavy a play. The type of work that I do doesn't rely on the text as much, but more in the gesture. Yet, I always say, I guess I can't seem to escape really from my forte or my strength as a performer, which is an acrobatic side to me as an actor. I think in this particular play, because it's a play of memory, of remembering, that gave us a lot of artistic freedom onto how do we want to flow between one image and the other within the dream sequences. What do we remember of that person that we love? How do we remember things that happen, and so on? Some images can be highly physical. Some of them can be just like really focused, tender moments. I think in this play, like in any production that I do, what I try to emphasize is that it's really hard to come up with a choreography that comes from the outside and then being worked with the performers, but more that it has to come from the performers themselves. So I think the things that we're seeing are actually simpler acrobatic gestures in general, but that suit perfectly, I think, the world of this play and also who we are as partners in this one. It's always different with different partners, but I think if we start from that groundwork of the people that we have at hand, I think it becomes more truthful and then actually can communicate, because if not, it'll be too abstract, not concrete. Yeah.
Yeah. And there, a lot of the play is kind of abstract in terms of the way it's presented, because it has this dreamlike memory quality. But it really is about love and about that inability to connect, I guess, that the forces that tend to pull people apart.
And bring them back together. I think it's abstract, but it also was very specific, both in the movement work and in the choices we made. So we had two dramaturgs working with us. One was a visiting assistant professor, Dr. Jennifer Pierce, and then we had a student who just graduated, Marissa Rivera. And so for the two of us, I think making choices that are very specific to who we are, Monica helped a lot with that. We both have homelands that are archipelagos, and so that was something. My family's from Cape Verde, and Carlos is from Puerto Rico, and so being able to specifically connect to the text and the material, and because the playwright left it open, then bringing it to really, really specific choices. So while there are abstract images, I think once you see the whole play, we're being very specific about everything, and then Carlos sort of leading the movement work, but then us coming up improvisationally and organically, but then being really specific about what we're doing in each moment, and really learning how to communicate, because we communicate all the time as performance faculty, and so then getting in this space and sort of practicing together and figuring out who we are as actors to each other and how we built the story and the relationship. It was, I mean, it was an honor to sort of get to work together in this way. And also we had students in the production the whole time, so I think for them it was great to see how we model like intimacy choreography, or something that might be more of a specialty of mine or more of a specialty of Carlos, is how we convey that to the other person and check in with each other and work together.
Yeah, and just talk very briefly about the expertise that the director, Monica, brings to this, and kind of her own research agenda. And
so Monica has written a book on the economics of Black film, but she studies the specificity of Black theater. And so she brings a really heightened awareness to the importance of not erasing oneself as a performer. I think for both of us, because we're so involved in disenfranchised communities and communities that can be overlooked in theater, her sensitivity to come in. For instance, Carlos, you want to talk about not wanting to imitate a certain group and the research we did on the Latinx community.
Yeah, sure deal. I mean, I think having Monica in here is another ally in the kind of work that we want to do. If you read the play as is, you can see that this character is is more geared towards a person that is from the Middle Eastern background. Right. But I feel like I, as an actor, in this particular juncture in time, two things. I'll be doing a disservice trying to imitate a culture that is not mine. Right. And two, I think Latinos in this region needs to see somebody like them. So I think as a director, I mean, and we are faculty, so we have, and we are directors as well. So, so we have a strong personas in the studio and have somebody who is always, how do you say, a voice that can manage all that, because it's knowledgeable in her research about it. So I think it became so really instrumental overall in this project.
And so the play will be performed here in September, the 12th through the 16th, but then you also have some hopes that it will travel across the country even, and have seen interest from other theater companies?
Yeah, so I'm not going to mention anybody specifically because we're in the middle of all of that right now, but we had two theaters that we set out to look at, and when we proposed this project, the idea was that we would have something that we could tour for the next several years if we wanted to, or at least the upcoming year, to sort of pull out and go. And then as we began to develop it and began talking to other people, specifically because the way we approached this was as a culturally competent, specific work, I think people are really interested in what that looks like. And so we've started to receive invitations to take it places.
Well, I look forward to seeing it, and people can find out more about the production on our website, arts.uncc.edu, and tickets can be purchased at the Robinson Hall box office. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for watching Inside UNC Charlotte.